It's 9 o'clock. It's Saturday morning. Yes, that could only mean one thing. It's time for the Monster Magic Saturday Show. Let's do this.
Wake up, it's a beautiful morning. Feel the sun shining for your eyes.
Woo-hoo-hoo. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the latest Monster Magic Saturday Show, which I'm going to start off with the most exciting thing ever. It is the draw for Craig Petty's Infinity deck, which I really should have done last week. So many apologies for that. Thank you very much for all your entries. The idea was, if you can't remember, it was that long ago, that you wrote down what pictures or what theme you'd have for your deck of cards. And there were some corkers. A deck of decking I found very funny. A metaphysical deck as well. All really good ones. One of Magicians, so your things are all in here, all the entries in there. Here we go. And the winner, the Infinity deck by Craig Petty. Here we go. The winner is... Oh, hang on. Where's my glasses? Hang on. Crispy Pete, 1902. Crispy Pete, please get in touch. Send me an email at monstermagic.info@monstermagic.co.uk with your real address, your real identity, and I will send you the Infinity deck by Craig Petty. So now that the draw is over, let's talk about Drawn by Armanujjaman. Armanujjaman Abir. Armanujjaman Abir. Or, in fact, in connection with Peter Eggink, it turns out with. Peter Eggink is someone I've got questions about his role in the Magic community. He doesn't really seem to care too much about what he puts out, in my mind. So I was a bit surprised. I don't know how Drawn got put into my basket. I must have been having a very bad day or rushing, and it's been a bit of a mistake. To be honest, it is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. The effect is that you have a card selected and signed. You then tear the corner off that card. You take that torn corner, you drop it on to the top of the deck, and it turns into a drawing, a Sharpie picture of that corner on top of a card. You show that card to be an indifferent card. You hand that to your spectator as a pointless souvenir. What can I say? This has some problems, but let me show you what you get. If you like the visuals of it, actually the visuals, I'm not sure how true the visuals in the trailer are, but they're not bad. So let me show you what you get. You get, can I show you what you get? What can I show you? Ooh. So you get a gimmick here. So this is the gimmick. You'll probably know roughly what this gimmick is, but it's a red Riderback gimmick, essentially. So you're going to need a red Riderback deck for this. You get these. So these are the stickers that you put onto your gimmick. So you can choose different values. So that's quite nice. The fact you're not completely stuck with the same value every time. So when it changes, it's not really drawn on with Sharpie, the change bit. I'll talk about the setup in a minute, but it's actually just one of these stickers, which is sort of quite an accurate representation of what the torn corner of the card looks like. And you just choose one of these, stick it on. If you want to change it, you peel it off and stick another one on. There is a dollar bill option here, which if you're in America and you're going to do it with a torn corner of $1, you can do that. I'm not sure this trick's worth tearing the dollar up for. This gimmick is actually pretty well made, and it works pretty well. I'm not a big fan of this type of gimmick. It is a gimmick, and I just don't like them. I never really have, but this one works as well as any of the others. They do suggest that you get a red gel pen. Red gel pen's not provided, just to hide the workings of the gimmick a little bit better. That annoyed me a little bit. I thought, well, if you need to do that, you should do that and provide the best gimmick possible. It just seemed a little bit lazy and thoughtless not to make this gimmick better. But I think you could probably get away without doing it, but probably best that you do. And then you just need to apply one of these to the gimmick. You then need to prepare the card that this is going to appear on, generally once you've handed it to the spectator. To do that, you do need a Sharpie, and you actually just need to draw or copy these corners. So you need a little bit of artistic skill in order to draw these accurately. You've got to copy these with your Sharpie freehand onto the card that you're going to give away. Now, I'll admit that I am not the best illustrator in the world. My penmanship isn't the greatest, but to copy something and make it look like that, so that when you switched it out, it looked exactly the same, I found pretty difficult. There's no tracing. You can't sort of trace it. You really do just have to copy it. And I found that pretty awkward. Also, the idea is that the corner of the torn card matches this edge here, and it doesn't, because you've torn it, and this edge is far too smooth for that, and it's not really that accurate. So if you really want to prove that it's an accurate match, as in a corner tear, this doesn't quite do it. It does match in the fact that it's the King of Hearts, and they've chosen the King of Hearts. In fact, they've signed the King of Hearts. I'll come to well, let's talk about the routine. The big problem with this is the routine itself. Visually, with the gimmick, I quite like that. There's bits of it I do like. But they've chosen a card and they've signed it, and then you've torn the corner off, and they just keep hold of that card. So there's no reason for them to sign it. There is a little bit in the presentation because it gives you a moment to do something a little bit sneaky. So it's sort of more a part of the presentation in order to help with the method. There's no real reason that card, they're still just going to stay holding it. It's not going to vanish or transform or change. They're just left holding the card they've freely selected and signed. Then you drop the corner onto the card. Visually it changes. That's as good as any of these gimmicks is. I don't get on with them. You might want to, you drop your hand over it just to cover it a little bit, but it seems to work fine. It is a bit noisy, mainly because the card that you drop onto it, the corner of the card you drop onto it, is actually slightly heavier than a normal corner of a card for various reasons, to help it vanish. And also you've got the workings of this card as well going on. So you're not going to want to do it in a quiet environment, but visually I think it probably works. It is quite a moment when the card changes into the drawing on the back of the card. You then turn that top card over to show that it is just a needless, indifferent card that they haven't chosen, that's got no meaning to them, but simply you've just put a drawing all over it, and you hand that to them as another souvenir. So they go away with a card they haven't selected, a completely indifferent card with a corner drawn on it, and their signed selection that nothing has happened to. This trick is all about that visual appearance of the draw-on card. The rest of the routine is just hook 'em, and doesn't really make sense. And that is a shame. The vanish of the corner and the appearance of the drawn-on corner I do quite like, even though I hate these gimmicks. Setup wise, you're going to pretty much need to dedicate a deck to this. You've got to remove 10 cards or so to compensate for the width of the gimmick, and also you're going to need to set up where the cards that are going to be chosen and thrown onto the deck are going to be as well. It's not really possible to have this gimmick could ride along, but you'll mess up the rest of the setup if you start doing card tricks in between. So it's a one trick deck, and you've also got a little something in your pocket that you need to have ready access to. You can hide it somewhere else other than your pocket. They do give suggestions for that. You're going to want to keep it fairly clean as well, otherwise it can lose some of its attractiveness. Method wise, it's easy to do and pretty straightforward. The signing of the card is more for misdirection than anything else. It's just a pointless thing for them to be doing. The throwing on and the actual workings of the gimmick and the throwing on at the corner of the card is fun to practice and to play with. The tutorial is fine. It's a pair of talking hands basically for about half an hour. A lot of time is spent, or a fair bit of time is spent, actually just showing you how to handle the gimmick to make it operate nice and smoothly. So that's quite nice. They don't teach how to repair the gimmick. They just mention that there are plenty of videos on how to do it. It wouldn't be hard to repair it. You will need a certain something which you can get from haberdashery stores or in fact from a magic shop. So I just take a little bit of care, just see how the gimmick is constructed before you start playing with it, because if you do break it, they don't really talk about it. So you just want to sort of maybe have a little video on your phone or take some pictures so you know exactly how to put it back together again should it break. Otherwise, I just suggest really looking after it. I don't think that's going to be a problem, because I'm guessing it's never really going to leave the packet or your drawer. It's all a bit of a shame, really. I don't like the nature of these cards in general, but I do like the way this one vanishes the corner as well as makes the drawing appear. I think that does have a application possibly in the future. I think it is quite a clever gimmick. I just don't like the routine. It's nonsensical, it goes nowhere, it leaves your spectator with two pointless cards, neither of which they have any interest in at all, really, unless you're a famous artist and that corner picture is going to be worth something in the future. And that is drawn by Armanujjaman Abir. I can't give you a price because I've actually taken it off the Monster website because it just simply isn't good enough to sell. And talking of things that aren't available from Monster, sadly, I have removed Quartet by Mark Mason from the website as well. I have gained enough knowledge now to realise that the gimmick is certainly exactly the same as Travel by Jordan Victoria and Sad Minds that came out about 6 or 7 years ago. And in fact, some of the moves and everything else are near identical. The difference with Quartet is that you get 2 of the gimmicks. With Travel, you just got 1, but their construction is the same. And it is a neat, clever idea. I can't find anything else similar to it. It is clearly Jordan Victoria's original concept. And I can't, with a happy heart, sell a copy of someone else's trick. Next up, it's Crazytown with David Regal. Oh yes, let's go to Crazytown. I am a fan of David Regal. I'm no secret of that. He is, to me, one of the masters of plot, presentation, power, premise. We had DVDs with those names on. His presentations and the premises and the power of his tricks are exceptional on the whole. I'm not saying everything he does is perfect, but they're also usually pretty sneaky and quite easy to do. And Crazytown is exactly that. You show that you've got 2 decks, a red deck and a blue deck. You put a sticker over the blue deck to magician proof it. You then take the red deck and you give each of your participants a pile of cards face up. They're going to give them a shuffle and can cut them as many times as they like. You then take the top card of each of their piles and turn those face up. You then go, well, I had a dream, and you take out the blue deck from your pocket, you open it up, you spread through, and face up are the 4 cards that match those 4 very cleanly selected cards. You then turn over all the rest of the cards of the blue deck to show that they are all blank. It is a real magician fooler, full of subtleties, nuances, and a clever gimmicked deck. You do get both decks in here. I don't think I can show you what you get. Here we go. So you get the red stickers. So these are the stickers that you use to magician proof the deck. You can get these anywhere. You can get them on, the shop that sells everything, Amazon, if you want to give Jeff Bezos help him with a few more millions, or you can just go pop to Ryman's or your local shop. And obviously the 2 cards, they are mandolin backed cards. but that's fine because you don't need to match them to another deck. This is a standalone trick. You're not really switching in a deck or not. And also, no one really notices whether it's a mandolin deck or a rider deck, so don't worry about that. You could have a rider card in a mandolin deck and no one would notice. So it's a very nice box, very nice, both decks of cards. So the blue deck of cards, you magician proof. You don't necessarily have to, it's up to you. David gives a reason for it. He thinks it adds a bit of power. He thinks having that sticker on the deck just makes it a little bit better. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You could just have someone put it in their pocket or look after it, keep it safe. Anything to make it obvious that you haven't been anywhere near it, you can't tamper with it. And if you are going to hand the blue deck to someone to keep, you don't have to worry about it because it is basically a blank-faced deck of cards. They are ordinary blank-faced cards. They can be handled. There's nothing to see with the 4 selections in there as well. You also get actually the 4 selections with a Crazytown back on, should you want to do a little bit of an extra kicker. David doesn't. I quite like the extra kicker. It just says Crazytown population us. I love the Crazytown presentation. So that's nice that they've included that. And then the red deck is, I would say, a gaff deck rather than a gimmick deck. So all the cards could be freely handled. There's no substance or anything else really going on. It's very, very deceptive how David uses this. Based on his prophecy deck that he brought out a few years ago, I think you can still buy it. And one of the master strokes of the routine is how this deck is displayed throughout as being completely fair and legit. You run through the cards, you show different faces so many times. You hand the participants their piles face up so they can see they've got a genuine mix of different cards to choose from. They then shuffle them completely fairly. They cut them as many times as they like, and you still just take the top card. They can take the top card off if they like. The card, there's nothing special on the card or anything like that. It is really, really clever. And also in the course of the routine, you end up cleaning away any of the evidence and you end up in a very clean position of just the blank faces and the matching selections on the table. There is a point in the routine where you can switch the red deck in for another deck that you might want to go on to use for other routines. That's up to you. It's not necessary. If you're going to do a card trick straight afterwards, it might be worth doing that. I think this is pretty close to genius. This is one of the most deceptive forcing decks I've seen in a long time. It's all got 3 different principles going on, which each just make it seem so impossible. The way they interact is great. There is a slight element of ad-libbing and jazzing to get to those selections. So if you've got your 4 people, you might have to play around a little bit, but that's a lot of fun. And because you've got a little fun presentation going on anyway, it's pretty easy to manage. The only downside I can see is that the 4 selections are always going to be the same unless you make up a new one of these decks, which, when you know the secret, isn't impossible, but could be a little pricey. I think David Regal has done it once again. This is Crazytown, $33.99. Next up, it's the ultimate bottle production by Richard Griffn. This is one of the most visual bottle productions I have ever seen. You show a nice, clear, see-through silk chiffon scarf, and then you fold it up, and from nothing you produce a bottle. It could be a bottle of wine, it could be a bottle of beer, it could be a bottle of pop. It is up to you. It comes in 2 sizes, large and small. The small is for your standard beer bottle, your bottle of Corona or Budweiser, that sort of size, or a small soft drink bottle, and the large one is if you want to do a bottle of wine or a bottle of champagne or anything like that. And the method for both is exactly the same, and the handling is pretty similar. Richard runs through the handling pretty clearly exactly how to do it, and he also gives various ways of getting into it as well. So you can just walk straight on stage and use it as your opener and produce the bottle, holding the scarf very casually as you come on, or you can have it in a bag or a box and bring it out. It's up to you. It is just for parlour or stage. I wouldn't do it close up. Richard just does touch at the end of the tutorial, suggested it might be possible, but I think you'd be very lucky and you'd have to have some control over your lighting. As a visual production, it is amazing. One of the big problems for me though is that you do need to be wearing something black. Not the whole outfit doesn't have to be black, but you do need to have either a black jacket or a black t-shirt on. If you were all in black, obviously the handling, you're much freer, it's much easier, less worries. If you've only got a black jacket or a black t-shirt, you have to be a little bit more careful, but it is still easy and possible to do. But that is the price you've got to pay for something that looks this good and this clean. It does have other advantages though, so there's no body loads in it, so you're not carrying a bottle tucked anywhere, you know, you're doing nothing sneaky, you're not going inside your jacket, there's no big movements, you are actually genuinely producing the bottle from the scarf, so it looks very clean. Is it the ultimate bottle production? If you don't mind the clothing restrictions, then it probably is. It is certainly the most visually startling, easy to do bottle production. It's very clever. I just wouldn't change my outfit for something that is just a little bit of a quick visual effect. But that is the ultimate bottle production. Richard Griffn, $25.99 for the small, $29.99 for the large. And now we've got QR Queens by Paul Fowler. This isn't so much a trick as actually a sort of what we got, utility gimmick. They are basically 4 queens, red Riderback cards. These are printed on genuine Riderback US PCC cardstock by them, and they're really, really nice. So they are 4 queens, and each of the queen has a QR code, and the QR code will take you to a website, a genuine Google or whatever website, for a second reveal of a second card. The routine that Paul does most is he has a card selected and then put back in the deck and lost. He then says he is going to find their card, and he runs through the deck and he pulls out a queen. They say their card wasn't a queen. He gives the queen a little bit of a shake and a QR code appears in the middle. They get their phone, they scan the QR code, and it takes them to a picture of their selection. There is just one routine you can do with it, and Paul runs through various different ideas with these gimmicks. The first one is a sort of psychological reading one, where you say you're going to find their card using sort of micro expression. So once their card's lost in the deck, you then run through the suits, you run through the numbers 1 to king, and saying that you can see by their eye movement or the twitch of the corner of their mouth that their card was in fact the Queen of Hearts. You get it wrong, and then they get the QR code to get it right. Paul then teaches a variation of that, which he calls the shake variation of that routine, which is the one I've just described. In that he does teach the twirl change, or the pivot colour change, by Noel Stanton, as it was originally called. And that's a very easy visual way of changing the genuine queen into the queen with the QR code. Not only are these cards nicely printed and nicely designed, they're also quite clever because they're marked as well. Not on the back, but on the face, just to remind you which queen goes to which reveal, because you don't want to, you know, have them scan the Queen of Hearts, show up the 2 of Spades, but you've forced the 7 of Hearts. So that's a bit of a fail-safe, and also if you haven't performed the trick for a while, it'll jog your memory nicely without you having to scan the codes. Talking of scanning the codes, Paul spends a lot of time demonstrating how to have the codes scanned and which phones and certain apps and things like that. He is massive on Apple. He's saying he always does it on someone who's got an iPhone. If they're not going to use their phone, I mean, it's a genuine website. Whether you use your phone or their phone, it's up to you. If you're doing it with a group of people, someone has probably got an iPhone. I've got an Android, and I scan these really easily. I'm not a fan of QR codes in general. And one of the issues Paul points out is because these have got faces on, the camera automatically gets drawn to these 2 parts. And I can see that when I put my phone originally over the QR code, but it comes up, honestly, within less than a second, it notices the QR code with just a little bit of moving in and out. So I don't think that's a problem. Paul talks about it more than he needs to. I think he's just sort of concerned that might be an issue. You do need internet access, obviously, but I think everyone's got internet access these days, even if it's just not via the Wi-Fi, but you know, they'll have 4G. Just check on your phone if you've got internet access. If you do, then this trick will work a treat. Paul then goes on to encourage you to use these in any real routine that you want. They are simply quirky reveals that you can have in your deck as you wish. Even if you just didn't have the queens and just use these queens, chances of a queen turning up in the course of other routines are few and far between. And you know, if someone notices that QR code, which is, they sort of blends in that QR code, I don't think you need to worry too much. I would just have these in my ordinary deck of cards as the standard queens. If they do choose a queen and it's a trick that you need to have signed, I would just say, oh, you know, you probably better to have a number spot card because it's got more space to sign it. So just have them choose another card. The additional ideas that Paul do teach are really quite clever. There's a version of Al Leach's Red Hot card trick, or the Chicago Opener, or the Red Hot Mummer, depending on what you want to call it. He also does a nice little flash production to have the QR code appear, and also a really nice self-working lie detector trick as well. These really are something to let your imagination have fun with. Even if you just have 2 cards selected, one of which is the queen, and then have that selection find the other person's selection. It's good fun. And I do like the fact that the image appears on the participant's phone, because it is their phone. That does actually create a little bit of a personal connection. For thoroughness and completion, Paul also runs through some credits, including Noel Stanton's Pivot Change and Al Leach's Red Hot Mummer. He also then talks about the care of the gimmicks. I mean, these aren't ordinary cards. Just look after them like ordinary cards. I think they're really nice utility gimmicks to add a nice, quirky, novel card reveal to your card magic and do something just a little bit different. That is QR Queens by Paul Fowler, $21.99.
This show is awful, terrible, disgusting. See you next week, of course.
And that's it for this week. That is the end of the show. I hope you're all ready for the weekend. Go on, have a shower. That's quite important. And then grab some magic, get out there and have some fun with the best hobby in the world. Goodbye.